Okay, this first lesson that we're going to talk about today is how to write an equation of a parabola. So you're going to be given some information that is a parabola, and you're going to have to figure out how to write the equation in standard form. So to remember what an equation in standard form looks like for a parabola, it's going to be y equals a parentheses x minus h quantity squared plus k, or it's going to be x equals a parentheses y minus h quantity squared plus k. Those are the two standard forms of your parabola. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to look at how to write an equation from a given information. So it says write an equation of a parabola with a vertex at the origin and the focus at 0 and 1/8. So one of the easiest ways to do this is to go ahead and look at what the graph would look like. And the reason that we do this is that's going to help us pick out which equation we're going to talk about up top, if it's the first one or the second one. So I know the vertex is at the origin. The origin is right here. Okay. Then we also know that the focus is at 0 and 1/8. So that means we come up here in 8 and we have a graph and we have the focus. Well, since we know what a graph of a parabola looks like, the vertex and the focus, that means that the graph is going to look something like this. Now, I'm not exactly sure if it's going to be wider or narrower, but this is just this rough sketch to kind of show us which one of these two equations to choose up top. Since this graph is going up and down, that means that y needs to be by itself. So we're going to be dealing with this first equation right here. Okay, so we're going to be dealing with this equation to start with. Well, in order to come up with an equation, we need to figure out the a value, we need to figure out the h value, and we need to figure out the k value. Well, the easiest one is the h and the k, because remember the vertex is your h and k. So my vertex in this particular problem is going to be 0, 0. So that's going to make it a lot easier for us when we go and plug these in. So I know that my h and k is going to be 0, 0, and I just noticed up top here that this is supposed to be k here, and this is supposed to be h here. And got those flipped around because we flipped the x and y. So the vertex is hk, so my vertex is 0, 0. Now we need to figure out what a is, and there's a formula. A equals 1 over 4p. So I got to figure out what that is. Okay. Now the only way to figure this out is if we know what a or p is. We don't know what a is because that's what we're trying to figure out. So do we know what the p value is? Well, if you know what the definition of the p value is, the definition of the p value is the distance from the vertex to the focus. So that means that my p value is going to be 1/8 because we have our vertex at 0, 0, and we went up an eighth. So this right here is an eighth of a unit. So we know that p is equal to 8. So that means that a is going to be 1 over 4 times 1/8. Okay. So then we have a equals, we need to know how to multiply fractions. Remember, we multiply fractions straight across. So 4 times 1, 1 times 8. So this becomes 1 divided by 4 over 8. Well, 1 divided by 4 over 8 is the same thing as 1 divided by 1/2. Well, 1 divided by 1/2, when we divide fractions, it's the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So my a value in this case is going to be 2. We multiply by the reciprocal of 1/2. The reciprocal of 1/2 is 2. So my a value is 2. So these pieces of information right here are what's going to allow me to write my equation. So my equation is going to be y equals a, which in this case is 2, parentheses, x minus 0, quantity squared, plus 0. Now, we can clean this up a lot because we have y equals x minus 0 is just x. So this becomes 2x squared plus 0. We don't need to write that down. So then my equation would be y equals 2x squared. Okay. So we're going to do another one. It says write an equation of a parabola with a vertex at -1, -3, and a focus at -5, -3. Again, create a quick sketch. I have a vertex, -1, -3. I have a focus at -5, -3, which would be somewhere in here. Okay. Well, if that's the case, Then I need to find the vertex. Well, the vertex was given to me, -1, -3. Okay, and I need to find the p-value so that I can figure out what my equation is, or my a value, excuse me, not p, my a value. Okay, that's what I got to figure out to write the equation. Okay, well, in order to do that, I need the formula a equals 1 over 4p. So what is p? P is the distance from the vertex to the focus. Well, what is the distance from here to here? Well, this number here is at -1. This number here is at -5. The -3 is the same in the y, so that's not going to come into play. But I went from here to here. Well, this is an x value of -1. This is an x value of -5. -1 to -5 is 4, which means that my p-value is equal to 4. So then I have 1 over 4 times 4. 1 over 4 times 4 would be 1 over 16. Now notice this graph is going to the left. Well, if this graph is going to the left, that means my a value needs to be a negative. So then I can come and write my equation. Right? Now here's the trick. Which equation is it? Is it the y equals or is it the x equals? The way you know, which way does the graph go? The graph is going in the x direction, which means that it's going to be x equals. My a value is 1 over 16, but it's negative. Parentheses, y minus, okay? Well, notice my y value is negative down here. Up here, it's going to be a double negative, so it's really going to be a plus sign squared, and then it's -1 because it's the same as this one. It'd be plus whatever the number is, plus and a negative, and make it a minus. So there is my equation. Okay? So there's that. Okay, so let's look at the last one for this particular type of problem. Okay, so again, the easiest way is to graph it. So I'm going to graph this. So here's my coordinate plane. My focus is at 3, 2. So go to the right 3, down 2. I have a directrix of y equals 4. Y is a horizontal line at +4. So my directrix is right there. So then that should tell me what my graph looks like. My graph is going to have a focus right here and a directrix right here. Well, since I know something about a parabola, my vertex is going to be somewhere directly in the middle, and I know the focus has to be inside my curve, so then it looks like this right here. Okay? Questions on that? Okay, so we have this. Now we got to figure out my vertex. My vertex is going to be directly in between those. This is at 4. This is at -2. What is the middle of 4 and -2? Well, how far do you count up? It's a distance of 6. 4 to -2 is 6. The middle of 6 is 3, so I go up 3, which makes my vertex at the ordered pair 3, 1. Okay, now I got to figure out my a value. Well, my a value is going to come from my p value. Well, the p value in this case is, I'm going to calculate, a equals 1 over 4p. Well, p is the distance from the vertex to the directrix or focus. How far is it from this ordered pair to this ordered pair? We talked about that earlier, which is 3. So a is going to be 1 over 4 times 3, which is 1 over 12. Now we got to figure out if it's positive or negative. So we'll look at the graph. Is the graph going in a negative direction or a positive direction? It's going in a negative direction, which makes it negative. Then we have to figure out, is it y equals or x equals? Since the graph's going down, it's in the y direction. So it's going to be y equals -1/12 parentheses x minus 3 quantity squared plus 1.